Hello, hello, Linda from Linda Active here, and little Minnie right up the front because today it's your workout, Amy, and you requested Minnie to be in the shot. So there she is for you. You also requested a all-standing workout, lower body focus, but also cardio and toning, so light, low intensity cardio or low impact cardio. You wanted some light hand weights and 60-second intervals. And one of the exercises that you wanted to include was a single leg deadlift. So we were going to deliver all of that to you today. I'm going to press start. No rest periods in between, just 60 seconds consecutively for 20 minutes. So let's start by walking in place. And you did also want a bit of a chit chat because it's a good way to distract from the burn sometimes, right? So while we're doing these exercises, I'll chat to you about various things. The very first thing is, how cute is it when Minnie sticks her head out like a little chicken? And the next thing is, you can't see it, but the weather is actually really beautiful right now. We're in Western Australia and it is winter now, but our winter is extremely mild. It's only, I don't know how to convert it, but we work in degrees Celsius here. So during the day it's around 18, 20 degrees, and at night it gets down to maybe about 10 to 12 degrees, so nothing crazy at all. Beautiful weather, and sometimes sunny, sometimes a little bit of rain in winter, but not more than a few days. Let's go side, center, side, center. So nice big side lunge. Weight is in the heels. I like to hinge forward and really bend into that leg and stick my glute out to the side wall. And the reason I like to hinge is because it sends the weight more into your heel rather than putting weight into the quad. So if you prefer to be more upright, you can definitely do that. And think about that beautiful stretch in your opposite leg, side to side. You'll see me doing a lot of forward leaning work simply because I had a knee injury for over a year, and I found it got aggravated by doing lunges and squats. Speaking of squats, let's go down, then turn the feet and down. Turn the feet out, turn the feet in. So more upright out, forward, and sweep those arms if you want. If this is too much, then maybe just keep the arms here and slightly hinge here. So yeah, because of that knee injury, it meant I couldn't do a lot of traditional squats and lunges, and I found that hinging forward from the hips really helped me to be able to still do them without aggravating the knee injury. And the interesting thing was, the knee injury was actually not to do with my knee. It was on the inside part of my right knee, and actually it was to do with the tight outer glute and hip area. So let's go side steps and really row those arms behind. So what I had to do was stretch out my hips a lot more, doing things like pigeon pose, figure four stretches, and making sure I didn't neglect that because it was all connected. Your hip muscle goes all the way down and across into the inside of the knee. So the interesting thing about that was you don't always know from an injury where it originates. So sometimes you have to go digging a little bit further and seeing where that starting point actually was. Really row behind, keep your shoulders down and back. Got a hair that's itching my face. Okay, we're gonna do some knee lifts next. Rotate down, so pulling, bringing your knee up, and your arms are kind of going up, around, up, around. And if it's starting to get a little bit too aerobic for you, just do a little tap. Otherwise, breathe with me. Lift those knees, warming up through the hip flexors and the quads. Okay, this hair is really annoying me. It's probably Minnie's hair, stuck to my face. So, when talking about injuries and figuring out where they come from, that doesn't just apply to physical injuries. It can also apply to traumas, perhaps from your childhood that you have triggers from in adulthood. 2 across, now stay low. Okay, let's do arms out, out. So the beat of the music is pretty fast, so maybe keep it smaller. Otherwise you're going to get puffed out too quickly. What I mean by that is sometimes we have reactions to things that are out of proportion to the actual event or circumstance. Someone might say something or do something, and we get really emotional all of a sudden, really upset, really offended, and react angrily or in whatever way. Maybe we're more passive aggressive and we retreat. And then we don't really know why that has happened. Why did we have such a crazy reaction? Let's go into a curtsy. Once again, I'm leaning forward, but you don't need to. You can stay more upright like this. So turn out your feet, curtsy, lunge, center and side. And many people, they don't even question this, and they just keep going through life, one trigger after another, and their entire life is made up of reacting to things rather than having agency or control of their life and acting instead of reacting. So acting in a balanced way or in a way that they are in control of. And the reason why a lot of this happens is because we already start adopting beliefs and patterns in our childhood from our primary caregivers, and what we see there. Okay, we're going to go knee and side lunge, stay on one side. So knee across and side lunge. If you don't like this, then tap in and a little side lunge. Make it as big or as little as you want. You can drop the weights anytime. So these patterns that we build up from childhood, they often follow us into adulthood. And then without even realizing it, when certain people do things that remind us of times in our childhood that perhaps were a bit traumatic, we react exactly like that little wounded child would have reacted back then. And we're not even aware of it. But if we took a second to look at our reaction in proportion to what the actual circumstance was as an adult, we're going to do it to the other side, we would realize that actually it was way out of proportion. And there are so many memes about overreacting, trying to normalize it almost. You know, oh sorry, I was on my period, or getting hangry, needing a snack, trying to make it all cute, rather than realizing that these behaviors are not beneficial as adults, and that by addressing them and reframing our beliefs that drive those behaviors, we can live in a lot more freedom and joy as adults. And I have talked a lot about how to get in touch with your nervous system. Let's go nice sweeping arms and heels in front. Of how to learn to read your nervous system. And by so doing, you realize when you do these things over and over that seem to just be automated, that seem to almost be self-sabotaging, that seem to be kind of out of control, like you can't stop yourself from doing them. And once you see that these behaviors are so ingrained in you, that's the first step towards being able to unpack where those behaviors first started and what are the underlying beliefs that drive those behaviors. And that's when you can start really digging. Having said that, let's go into butt kicks next. So kick your butt. I want down and up. A lot of people don't like to look under the hood. You know, looking under the hood, the car hood, because when there's smoke or when the car's not working, generally you've got to look under the hood to figure out what's going on. People are scared of doing it, and I understand that. It is scary at first to realize that you are just a bunch of patterns and automated responses that you imprinted from childhood. Minnie Mouse, where are you off to? It is kind of confronting, especially if you're older. She's having a drink of water off camera. And some people have their identities so wrapped up in those responses and those beliefs that to stop them, okay, we're going to go hinge forward, hand back, hinge forward, hand back, but we're going to start lifting that back leg in a second, okay? So if you're ready, balance challenge. Pick a focal point in front of you and try to put your weight in the heel and towards the instep of the foot, but do not worry if you wobble, because I am wobbling too. Breathe. Keep looking ahead of you. It's like a seesaw action. Bending your supporting leg. Yeah, often we don't realize that our entire identity can be built around something, a wrong belief that we've had our entire lives. And if we then come to the point where we realize that belief is actually wrong or skewed in some way, it can be too confronting. Let's do it to the other side. Start the hinge with a toe tap back. Then it can be a bit confronting, and it can mean that we might need to change quite a lot of things in our lives. And because biologically humans are not designed to want to change anything, because change sometimes can mean scarcity in some way, and we have inbuilt fear towards change from our forefathers' kind of time of hunter-gatherer times, where it's always good to have everything kind of the same and worked out so you don't have to worry about anything. Changing environment, for example, where you live might bring you predators and so on. So we definitely don't love change. Well, most people don't love change. And so when it comes to, okay, let's go. 1, 2, 1, 2. So 2-step, 2 butt kick. So when it comes to looking under the hood and potentially having to change something in our belief system that's very entrenched, it can be very scary. But I truly believe that if you conquer that initial fear, maybe get some help, maybe see a therapist if it's something really big, maybe some childhood abuse that you suffered that was very traumatic that you need help unpacking. I believe that if you are able to change or reframe some of those perspectives that do not serve you now as an adult, you can have a new level of freedom and joy that you just cannot have if you think you've got to keep holding on to them. Okay, we're going to go diagonal lunge, side lunge, hinge forward back lunge. So diagonal, side, hinge forward back. If the diagonal is not good for you, for your knees or something, then just do a straight front lunge. Side and bend. So here we're going into a lunge that's diagonal. This side lunge, we're keeping our legs straight, hinged back. Deep breaths. Yeah, I do believe that joy in general is equivalent to freedom. So when you feel free in an area, then you can be fully free to enjoy that area and not have any other side. So diagonal, side, hinge forward, back. Then you have no inhibitions. You've got no kind of coping mechanisms or anything to block joy, just like children. Children can have full joy, let everything out, not care what anyone thinks, and the more free you are to be able to be yourself, the more joy you can experience. So that's why I believe that even if you think you're fine the way you are and you just have a few kind of areas where you get triggered, I believe that even you can find a higher level of freedom and joy. Now going back to that whole thing about initially it can be scary to look under the hood. I want to give you an analogy that I've heard. Okay, side to side and 2 butt kicks. So knee across, butt kick. So the analogy was going skydiving. And I recently went skydiving a few months ago. And of course, biologically, your body does not want you to, or your brain does not want you to jump out of a plane, right? Makes sense, wants to keep you alive. Don't jump out of a plane. Silly idea. So in order to actually get myself there, I basically just didn't think about it. Tried not to think about it until the actual day, still try not to think about it. Don't allow myself to give in to fears of what could happen. Just block it out every time it comes into my brain. And then, let's go 2 across and 2 out. If you've ever been skydiving, you actually get strapped to your instructor. So it's a tandem jump, and you don't get any choice in when you jump, which is actually a good thing. Because if I had to choose when to jump, I've cliff jumped before into water, and it literally took me an hour to jump the first time because it was all up to me. So with the skydiving, actually, it was so much easier. But of course, as soon as you push off out of that plane, your nervous system freaks out. And of course I screamed because I was like, oh my God, I'm about to die. But after a couple of seconds, your brain registers, hang on a second, I'm still alive, everything's fine. The guy that I'm strapped to, he's in control. Just go back and back. So, back step lunge, alternating. He's in control, I have nothing to worry about. And so I could relax a little bit, tell my nervous system, you're fine, you're not dying. And then I was able to start enjoying it. So when it comes to unpacking things, unpacking childhood traumas or reasons or beliefs why we act in a certain way, in an automated way, at first the thought of it can be the hardest part. The fear of losing identity, of everything becoming rocky, of the rug getting pulled out from under you. Those are big fears. So I can understand that it's daunting, but like with skydiving, let's go into a plie and then into a curtsy. Plie, how about arms widen up? Guess what? Last interval, Amy. Chit-chatting for so much or so long. that we didn't even notice we finished 20 intervals. This is the last one. So with skydiving, the sense of freedom you feel as you are free falling, and then as the parachute gets pulled and you're gliding over the ocean, which is where I did it. It is magical and it is so free. And after doing that, honestly, I feel like I can do most things because I did something that was really difficult, and now my brain knows I can do difficult things and I'm not going to die or harm myself. We're done, guys. So my last little message is do hard things. Try not to think about the fears and the consequences and the anxieties about what could be. Get yourself to a point where you can distract yourself until the moment, and then step over that line, jump out of that plane, because the freedom and the joy that's on the other side of whatever fear you have, that you're not realizing your dreams, perhaps you're not doing an activity because of a certain fear or whatever it is, the joy you can find, it's worth it. And then you teach your body that you can do it and that you don't need to be so afraid, and you become more resilient, and next time it becomes easier and easier and easier, and then something that used to be so difficult becomes a walk in the park eventually with practice, just like you working out with me. Amy, you've been working out with me for so many years, and I so appreciate you always commenting, always being such a positive light in the comments. So I know that you definitely are living everything I talked about today, and I'm just very grateful that you wanted me to chat throughout your workout so that we can share the message with everyone else as well. So I hope this workout satisfied all the criteria that you wanted in your custom workout. I really enjoyed making it for you, and I look forward to working out with you again very soon. Bye for now from Minnie and I.